The rain didn't fall. It punished. Leo's van rattled as his daughter slept inside, wrapped in a unicorn blanket. He should have been home, but he needed this delivery. $40 meant groceries tomorrow. What he didn't know was he wasn't supposed to be here. Not on this floor. Not in front of that door. And when it opened, the woman said, "I've been waiting for you. Before we start, where are you watching from? Drop your city in the comments." Leo's world had shrunk since his wife, Sarah, passed away. It had condensed down to just the two of them, him and his 7-year-old daughter, Maya. His entire universe was the cramped cab of his van, the endless map on his phone, and the sleepy smile Maya gave him from the passenger seat, buckled in beside a thermal bag of someone else's dinner. Tonight, she was a small, breathing lump under her favorite unicorn blanket, her presence both a comfort and a constant gnawing anxiety. He couldn't afford a last-minute sitter, not with rent due, and the van's transmission making a sound like grinding teeth. So, she came with him, his silent partner on late-night runs, for Swift Shift, a gig that promised flexibility, but only delivered exhaustion. The final delivery of the night was an odd one, a high payout order to the apex, a skyscraper that pierced the stormy skyline like a shard of black glass. These luxury high-rises were usually way outside his normal territory. Their residents preferred exclusive courier services over gig workers like him. But the offer had flashed on his screen. Too good to refuse. $40 for a 10-minute drive. That was enough to cover groceries for the next few days. It was a lifeline. Pulling up to the building felt like approaching a fortress, gleaming, sterile, and completely indifferent to the storm raging around it. The lobby was a vast, empty expanse of marble and gold, so quiet he could hear the hum of the lights overhead. A bored-looking security guard waved him through without a second glance, his eyes glued to a soccer match on a small screen. Leo clutched the paper bag, the smell of garlic bread and marinara, a strange, grounding presence in the cold, sanitized air. He checked the delivery slip. The ink was a little smudged from a raindrop. Apartment 2507, it looked like. He pulled out his phone to double-check the app. The screen glowed. Floor 23. Apartment 2307. He hesitated. The app was usually right, but the slip was the official order from the restaurant. 23 or 25? He thought of Maya, sleeping in the van. The faster he did this, the faster he could get back to her, get them home. He imagined knocking on the wrong door on the 23rd floor. The awkward apology, the wasted time riding the elevator all over again. The smudged number looked more like a 5 than a 3. He made a choice, a small, seemingly insignificant decision in a life full of them. He pressed the button for the 25th floor. The elevator shot upwards with a silent, unnerving speed. The building felt deserted, a ghost ship of wealth. When the doors opened on the 25th floor, the hallway was a long, carpeted tunnel of muted colors and identical doors. It was unnervingly quiet. No TVs, no muffled conversations, no signs of life at all, just the distant rumble of thunder and the soft thud of his own heart. He found 2507 at the very end of the hall, its door a slab of dark, imposing wood. He took a breath, shifted the cooling food bag in his grip, and knocked. The sound was swallowed by the thick carpet. He knocked again, harder this time. For a moment, nothing. He was about to leave, to head down to the 23rd floor and admit his mistake. Then, he heard the click of a lock. Smooth and expensive. The door didn't creak. It just swung inward, with a silent, heavy grace. And there she was. She wasn't what he expected. No wealthy socialite in silk pajamas. No annoyed husband asking where his food was. The woman in the doorway was still. That was the only word for it. She wore a simple black dress, her feet bare against the apartment's polished concrete floor. Her dark hair was pulled back severely from her face, but her eyes were what held him. They were dark, intelligent, and completely unsurprised. She looked at him not like a delivery driver, but like an expected guest. He forced a professional smile. Hi, delivery for... He glanced at the slip, but the name was just a smudge. From the Sicilian kitchen? Her gaze didn't waver. A small, knowing smile touched her lips, but didn't reach her eyes. She ignored the bag he was holding out, and then she spoke, her voice calm and low, yet it carried an impossible weight that seemed to suck all the air from the hallway. I've been waiting for you. Leo's brain just stalled. He blinked, the fog of his exhaustion burning away, replaced by a sharp, prickling confusion. I think you have the wrong person, he stammered, his customer service voice cracking. This is a food delivery. Maybe for your neighbor? The app said 23rd floor, but the slip looked like... The app was a Trojan horse. She cut in smoothly, her voice leaving no room for argument. And the slip was bait. Please, come in, Leo. He froze. His name. She'd said his name. It wasn't on the delivery slip. A cold dread, colder than the rain outside, washed over him. How did she know his name? Before he could react, she stepped aside, gesturing him into the apartment. It was less of an invitation, more of a command. He felt an invisible current pulling him forward, a morbid curiosity wrestling with the alarms screaming in his head. Every instinct told him to turn, to run for the elevator, to get to his daughter. But his feet, heavy as lead, carried him over the threshold. The door clicked shut behind him. The sound echoed with a terrifying finality. The apartment was as sterile as the lobby, a vast open space with floor-to-ceiling windows showing a panoramic, rain-lashed view of the city. There was almost no furniture, just a single black sofa and a glass table. It didn't look like a home. It looked like a staging area. In an adjoining room, visible through a glass wall, was an array of glowing monitors and computer equipment, a high-tech nerve center humming with quiet power. I don't understand, Leo said, his voice barely a whisper. He placed the food bag on the glass table. It seemed absurd now, a relic from a world he'd just left behind. Who are you? How do you know who I am? The woman, he decided to call her Ilara, for her strange, otherworldly stillness, walked to the bank of monitors. My name isn't important right now. What is important is that you listen very carefully. Your life and your daughter's life depend on it. Maya. The name hit him like a punch. My daughter? How do you... Maya is perfectly fine, Ilara said, her eyes fixed on a screen. She's sleeping in your van, parked across the street. A Kedozer Taizaneji, blue Ford Transit, license plate 7KL3N9. Leo felt the blood drain from his face. She knew everything. He wasn't a confused delivery driver anymore. He was a fly in a web, and he was just now starting to see the strands. She tapped a key, and one of the monitors flickered to life with a grainy black and white feed. It was a camera inside a ventilation duct, pointed at a door down a hallway identical to this one, the door to apartment 2307. This is where you were supposed to go, she said. The delivery was real, in a sense. The man who ordered it, a Mr. Corbin, is waiting for you. The camera's microphone picked up muffled sounds from inside. Leo could see two burly men in dark suits pacing impatiently. A third man sat in a chair, his face hidden in the shadows. Why are you showing me this? Leo asked, his throat tight and dry. Because your arrival wasn't a mistake, Ilara explained, turning to face him. Her expression was grim. It was a selection. They needed a ghost, someone with no connections, no assets, a flexible schedule for late-night work, someone desperate enough to take a high-payout job without asking questions, someone who wouldn't be missed. The words hit him, each one a calculated strike. To them, he wasn't a person. He was a statistic, a perfect, anonymous pawn. A pawn for what? Let me see the bag, she said. Leo pointed numbly at the table. Ilara opened it, bypassing the food. She reached in and pulled out something he hadn't even noticed. A small black power bank, the kind you'd use to charge a phone. It looked cheap, generic. This is not a power bank, she said, placing it on the table. It's a data scrambling device. Highly illegal, highly effective. The plan was simple. You, the anonymous delivery guy, arrive at 2037. Mr. Corbin takes the delivery. You leave. He then activates the device. It emits a pulse, wiping all the servers on this block. By the time anyone figures out what happened, the data they wanted to destroy is gone, and the only link to the device is you, a man who has likely already been silenced. Leo stared at the little black box, an instrument of his own execution. But why me? Plausible deniability, Alara said. If anything went wrong, it all traces back to a random Swift Shift driver. No connection to them. A perfect crime. She paused, her gaze intense. I intercepted their plan. I've been tracking Corbin's organization for months. They aren't just corporate criminals. They're dangerous. When they placed the order, I hacked the Swift Shift network. I changed the delivery address in your app from 2307 to 2507. I brought you here. Why? Leo demanded, a flicker of anger cutting through his fear. Why drag me into this? If you knew, why not call the police? Because the police can't touch them, she said with bitter finality. They own people. To fight them, you have to operate in the shadows. And I needed something only you could provide. She tapped the device on the table. I needed this. But more importantly, I needed them to think their plan was moving forward. Your arrival here was the trigger. They know the delivery is late. Soon, they'll know it's not coming. As if on cue, Leo's phone buzzed. A message from the Swift Shift app, from the client. Corbin, problem with your delivery. Where are you? Leo looked from the phone to Alara, his heart pounding. On the monitor, the men were stirring. One of them picked up a phone. They knew. You have to get me out of here, Leo pleaded, his voice thick with desperation. My daughter is out there. I don't care about any of this. I just want my daughter, and that is exactly what they're counting on, Alara said, her voice softening for the first time. They know you have a child. It's part of your profile. It's leverage. She turned back to the screens, her fingers flying across a keyboard. Another camera feed popped up, showing the building's lobby. They're getting nervous. They'll start searching. So what do? Leo asked, a suffocating helplessness washing over him. You have a choice, Alara said, facing him again. Choice 1. You walk out that door. You try to make it to your van. They will most likely catch you before you reach the lobby. They will take the device, and they will not let a loose end like you, or your daughter, walk away. The unspoken threat hung in the air, thick and choking. Choice 2, she continued. You help me. You help me finish what I started. We use their weapon against them, but on my terms. If you do this, I give you my word, I will get you and Maya out of this city tonight. A new life. A safe one. Leo stared at her, his mind reeling. This was insane. A nightmare. He was the delivery driver, a dad, not a spy. No, he said, shaking his head. I can't. I just want to go home. He took a step toward the door. He'd take his chances. He would run. Leo, wait, Alara said, her voice sharp. He turned back. She was pointing at the lobby monitor. One of Corbin's men had just stepped out of the elevator. He wasn't heading for the stairs. He was walking with calm, deliberate purpose toward the front entrance, toward the street, straight toward the worn-out blue van where his daughter was sleeping. That image on the screen shattered Leo's world. The danger was no longer an abstract idea. It was terrifyingly real. It wasn't about him anymore, about conspiracies or data-scrambling devices. It was about the man in the dark suit walking toward the only thing he had left to protect. The choice was gone. There was no choice. What do you need me to do? Leo asked. His voice, a low, gravelly thing he barely recognized. A flicker of something, relief, maybe respect, crossed Alara's face. The building's main server room is in the sub-basement. Their security, their communications, everything is routed through there. The device you brought is designed for a wide pulse, but I've modified its frequency. At close range, in that room, It won't just wipe the data. It'll create a total system blackout. It will brick every piece of electronics in this building. Alarms, key cards, surveillance. Everything goes dark. And then, while they're blind, I'll download the files I need from their local server. The blackout gives me a 3-minute window, and it gives you a chance to get out. She handed him a small, flesh-colored earpiece. I'll guide you. The men in 2307 are moving, but they think their target is on the upper floors. The man in the lobby is a precaution. We need to move, now. Leo's hands trembled as he put the earpiece in. The fear was still there, a cold taste in his mouth, but now it was coated with a grim, laser-focused purpose. He picked up the power bank. It felt heavy, a small, dark weight that held his entire future. The service elevator is at the end of the hall. Ilara's voice whispered in his ear. It's old, used by maintenance. They won't be watching it. Leaving the apartment was like diving into icy water. The opulent hallway now felt like a hunting ground. He moved fast, his soft-soled work boots silent on the plush carpet. He found the service elevator, its metal doors dented and scuffed. It's on its way down, Ilara's voice said. Be ready. A security guard patrols the lower levels. Name's Morrison. He's on Corbin's payroll. Avoid him. The elevator arrived with a groan. The ride down was a slow, rattling eternity. Leo's mind raced, picturing Maya's face. He wasn't just doing this for her safety. He was doing this for Sarah, for the life they were supposed to have, stolen by men like Corbin, men who saw people as disposable. The doors opened onto a concrete sub-basement. The air smelled of dust and machinery. Turn left. Server room is 30 yards down. Stay in the shadows. Leo moved, his body low. He heard footsteps. He pressed himself into an alcove behind some large pipes, his heart hammering. A portly security guard, Morrison, ambled past, swinging a flashlight. He paused, looked down the corridor, then shrugged and continued on. Leo waited until the footsteps faded, holding his breath. He reached the server room. It had a keypad lock. Code is 841992, Ilara said. Corbin's birthday. The narcissist. His fingers fumbled, but the lock clicked open. He slipped inside a room humming with dozens of server towers, their blinking green lights casting an eerie glow. Central rack is in the back, Ilara guided. Place the device on top. There's a small red button on the side. Once you press it, you have 10 seconds to get out of the room. Go. He found the rack and placed the device on top. His hand hovered over the button. This was it, the point of no return. He thought of Maya. He thought of Ilara, a ghost in the machine, fighting her own war. He pressed the button. A high-pitched whine started. A small red light blinked, faster and faster. Leo scrambled out, pulling the heavy door shut just as the whine cut off. A split second later, a deep thump echoed from inside. Every light in the hallway flickered and died. The hum of machinery ceased. Absolute darkness and silence. The blackout was total. It worked, Ilara's voice said in his ear, breathless with urgency. I'm in. Emergency generators will kick in soon. You have to go. Service exit at the far end of the basement. It leads to the rear alley. He navigated the darkness, his hands trailing along the cold concrete wall. He found the exit, a heavy steel door with a push bar. It opened onto a narrow, rain-slicked alley. The storm was finally letting up. A dark sedan was idling at the end of the alley. The passenger door swung open. Ilara was behind the wheel. He got in, his body slumping with relief. He was shaking, drenched in sweat and rain. Did you get it? He asked. Everything, she said, pulling the car smoothly into the street. In the distance, the first sirens began to wail, converging on the apex. It's over. For them. She drove several blocks before pulling over near a dim park. She turned to him. I couldn't tell you everything before, Leo. It was too risky. She handed him a heavy key card. Storage unit across town. Inside, there's a bag. It has $200,000 in cash, new passports, birth certificates, driver's licenses. Everything you and Maya need for a new start. Leo stared at the card. Why? Why do all this for me? Ilara held his gaze. This was never just about stopping Corbin. Your wife, Sarah, she didn't work in accounting for some small logistics firm. That firm was a shell corporation owned by Corbin. She was a forensic accountant. She was brilliant, and she was getting too close to their money laundering. Her car accident, it wasn't an accident, Leo. The words landed, and 2 years of grief and confusion suddenly, horribly, snapped into focus. Sarah hadn't just been taken from him. She had been murdered. I worked with her, Ilara said softly. Not directly. I was in cybersecurity. We were part of the same internal investigation. When she died, I went dark. I have spent the last 2 years dismantling their organization from the inside. Getting their financials was the final piece. This was for Sarah. She had chosen him, not because he was a random ghost, but because he was the last link to a crime that started it all. This wasn't a coincidence. It was revenge. Go to your daughter, Leo, she said, her voice gentle. Give her the life Sarah would have wanted for her. He looked at this strange, avenging angel. Will I ever see you again? A sad smile touched her lips. The world is better off not seeing people like me. She reached across and opened his door. He got out, and the sedan pulled away, disappearing into the night as silently as it had appeared. He walked the 2 blocks back to his van. His legs felt unsteady. He saw it parked where he'd left it. He peered through the window, and there she was, Maya, still sound asleep under her unicorn blanket, oblivious to the storm that had just broken over her father's life. He got in, started the engine, and drove away from the apex as its dark, silent facade shrank in his rearview mirror. 6 months later, the air here doesn't smell like rain and exhaust. It smells of salt and pine. From the porch of a small coastal cottage, Leo watches Maya chase seagulls on a wide, empty beach. Her laughter carried on the sea breeze. He used the money. He used the new names. Leo and Maya are gone. In their place are a father and daughter with a quiet life and a future that stretches out before them like the calm, blue ocean. He never saw Ilara again. Sometimes, late at night, he reads the news about a powerful corporate syndicate that imploded, brought down by a massive, anonymous data leak. He knows it was her. He knows that somewhere out there, in the shadows, she's still fighting her silent wars. His delivery to the wrong floor wasn't a mistake. It wasn't an error in an app or a smudge of ink. It was a course correction, a violent, terrifying nudge from a ghost of his past, pushing him toward a new beginning. He looks at Maya, her face bright with innocent joy, and he knows, with a certainty that settles deep in his bones, that he has finally brought her home. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next one. Let us know in the comments what you would have done in Leo's situation. Thanks for listening.